very welcome. I'm delighted to be here this morning. It's funny, Maria was going to do an introduction and I thought I would give you a bit of context to my own background so that I could kind of set the scene for you, you know. Years ago, my first business was back in 2009 in the Rowan-Tree Centre in Cumroy, and it was an online advertising network. And I remember Barry, in his tenure at the time as a councillor, came to see us as a new business opening in Cumroy. And it's hilarious, like I haven't seen him in so long, but he never forgets anybody, like he's a deadly man. And so my first business was online advertising, and it was those intrusive advertising banners you see on websites that we all absolutely despise now. But at the time it was really cutting edge, and I was like, wow, it's amazing how those ads get there. Like nobody knew how it worked. That was my first business. Then a little business called the Google Display Network came in and worked that business out. It ended up being liquidated, I ended up being bankrupt, and it was a complete disaster, true story. And then I took kind of learnings of that first business, and it was pure fate and serendipity that I ran into old friends in London one weekend, and ended up picking up some training from them. I was doing a lot of digital marketing training at the time. And they had an operation in London, and they were moving their main business to Dubai, and they were like, could you deliver the same training in Dubai? And I was like, God, right if I must. All expenses paid, lifted, laid. I ended up opening a business in the Middle East for 5 years and sold that company, and that was back in 2017, 2018. I came home and started a company called Smart Global, and Smart Global was all about taking industry and innovation together and marrying the two. So we did a number of curated events in and around how you can take innovation and marry it into your business to drive efficiency and performance. And there's a big thing around, you know, all the buzzwords, you know, all your digital marketing and AI and machine learning and all of these big buzzwords, and nobody has really a clue what they mean. You know, if I say AI in Tyrone, like it's completely different meaning to what it means down in Dublin, you know. So it's understanding why we use innovation for our business, and you know, we're not just doing it because, you know, our competitors are doing it, unless we've actually done the analysis to see if it works. So fast forward, anyway, in my moment of madness, I was introduced to a professor in University College in Cork, and following 10 years of research at the university, it turns out that they've created a strategic planning tool that actually reduces diagnostic waiting lists in hospitals. And I thought, well, that sounds like a nifty idea. See if we can reduce hospital waiting lists. So we spun that company out last year, and we're in the middle of rolling it out now, fingers crossed, in a number of pilot sites in the HSE in Dublin at the minute to start tackling the dire hospital waiting list that we would all experience in some shape or form. So that's kind of my latest business. So it's kind of gone on quite the journey, but innovation and technology has always been part and parcel of it. And one of the ways in which I've really helped grow my own profile and awareness of all the companies, and Charlie, I think you've been in it, you've known every iteration of my business life along the last 15 and 20 years, has been LinkedIn. And when the girls asked me if I would come and speak today, I was like, it's a no-brainer, because I am an absolute pollution on LinkedIn. Like, there's days when things are really busy, like today is already posted. If we get any PR in the press or any articles, it's posted. And I have friends that say to me, could you do me a favour? Could you just not post anything on LinkedIn today? I don't want to see your face. And literally, it's like, well, you know, that's the platform that we drive awareness of everything that we do. So it's so important to have, I suppose, the balls to really, you know, promote yourself. If you're not going to do it, who's going to do it for you? So I put a few slides together that I just want to take you through using LinkedIn. And you know, we're all, and I know you're here today, and Instagram is very visual content for you and your brand and everything else and what you do. But your Fergal knows just the importance of LinkedIn and how it drives awareness of what he does. And I think Niraj is right when it comes to Fergal's personal stuff and his, you know, his mindset with his training and triathlon and stuff. That's incredible resilience that follows through into the business, you know. So he's created a very unique profile for himself, because we know exactly who Fergal is, what he's about, what he does and all of that, and that resonates through in his content. So one of the things as why you grow your network to start to build sales, like I think I've got 14,500 followers on LinkedIn now, and they're all organic. And I'm quite cutthroat with who I connect with as well. Because for me, if there's no deal to be done, why would I bother wasting my time? Well, it sounds really bad, but it's true. Do you know, if they're not adding any value to your business, why would you connect with them? You know, they're not going to put cornflakes on your table, and we're all in business to do business. So for me, I would be quite ruthless with who I connect with now, and I get connections all the time, and I literally read the connection request like, will we do business? No. Will I accept? No, not today. Decline. So I think you have to be, because it's a quantity and quality, and getting that balance. If they're not quality connections you can do business with, right? What's the point? Do you know what I mean? So some things to think about. So looking at your sector, you know, do you all have a defined sector, a business sector? You can all stand up and be very clear and articulate as to the sector that you're doing business in, yes? Yeah? Okay. So how do you carve out that expertise in your industry? How do you stand out from the crowd? And Niraj was right when he said it's so important to stand out from the crowd. How do you do that? So understanding the sector in which you work in is fundamental to success. So if you're focusing retail and clothing or whatever it might be, that's your focus. You know, there's no point in me focusing on healthcare software and talking about, you know, livestock and agri-feed, because the two are totally disassociated. So be very specific about how you're positioning yourself as a reputation within your industry sector. Grow your connections, but make sure they're valuable connections. And I suppose one of the other big things is to grow your network and your team. So we all know it's so difficult at the minute to find really good people to come and work for you. So using LinkedIn, you get to actually do a bit of like a due diligence on them. You get to be that bit of a detective and say, well, what are they about? You know, salespeople should be all over it. Are they over it? Social media tells us so much about a person, so it's important that we know how to use LinkedIn to actually see, well, does this person actually stack up? Are they as good as they say they are? So things that I would ask you to think about now is like, what is so special about you? You know, what is unique about you? What's your vibe? You know, how do you connect with people? What's your energy online? How do you stand out from the crowd? And if I was to ask you all now, and I won't embarrass anybody, Connor, you know, what is it that you do is so special? You know, what is it that you do? What's your vibe? How do you stand out from the crowd? And these are all things, it's like any strategic kind of move, whether it's a marketing strategy, a business plan strategy, whatever it is. If you're going to utilise LinkedIn to drive sales, you need to think about these things to really kind of give yourself an opportunity and a platform to stand up and actually stand out from the crowd. And we don't think about these things. We think, all right, okay, there's an article in the Irish News, I'll just copy the URL, that's interesting, and I'll send it. And think, right, that's it, done, I've posted content, happy days, tick box. But what does it mean? If there's no call to action, if there's no engagement, if there's no relevance, you know, why bother your ass? Like, just don't waste your time. I'm sure there's other things that you could be doing that would be much more beneficial. But I think for me, from a business-to-business perspective, and working in a business-to-business space, LinkedIn is without doubt the most valuable platform that I have across all social networks. Like Facebook, does anybody really post on Facebook now? It's all kind of births, deaths and marriages, isn't it? You know, it's like, you know, Instagram is where it's at for those consumer brands, you know, and I have to say I have a lot of fun on Instagram. I really didn't take it too seriously for a long time because it wasn't relevant to my business. But now on the other side of the She Said Club with the fun stuff that I get to do, I do have to say I enjoy the old PR package, you know, and it is lovely to get some treats for Instagram. But I don't ever post that stuff on LinkedIn because it's not relevant. You know, I'm starting to post about Dale Farm Rice, you know, ice cream, and I'm talking about saving, you know, waiting lists over here. You know, there's an imbalance. The two don't match up. So you need to make sure that what you're posting about is consistent on the channel and it doesn't kind of convey mixed messages. So be very, very, very clear as to why you're using it. Like in the room here, who works in a business-to-business capacity? Who is business-to-business? What line of business are you in? Videography, perfect for you. Anybody else, girls? I know, bring yourself up with the rest of you girls. What line of business?
so we do commercial photography as well.
Well, absolutely, then that's definitely an opportunity for you to showcase what you do. Boys, at the back table there. What line of business are you in?
I'm in electrical wholesale, so more to contractors and whatnot.
Okay, and are you on LinkedIn, yeah?
Yeah.
And do you find it good, like in your discussion groups and other opportunities to connect with other people in the same space?
It gives you a chance to touch base with people that you wouldn't normally
Yeah.
get to speak to, or even learn more about them, as you say, as if you are physically visit them or whatnot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To generate leads, it's fantastic. And I think that's the thing that's really important to realize as well. It's like, it's not just one particular sector that's on LinkedIn. I actually put £20 on the table that there is a group and there is a person on LinkedIn for everything that you can think of. I remember doing work in Kuwait for Gilead Pharmaceuticals, and it was working about clinical practice, so using social media for clinical practice, but their speciality was hepatitis C, right? Now you imagine trying to come up with a presentation to showcase how a doctor would use digital platforms to talk about Hep C. There's about 10 groups in hepatitis C on LinkedIn. And this was only doing my research, I was like, thank God it's here. Because how do you start to talk about Hep C online unless you go into specific medical forums? But LinkedIn presents this opportunity, so it's unbelievable the width and breadth and depth of content and groups and connections that LinkedIn actually brings. So building your tribe is such an important thing to do, and as my career has evolved into many different iterations, like going from kind of sales and marketing into events, and then the smart global events took a life of their own into construction and manufacturing, into healthcare, into retail, into talent, into HR. It goes off in different streams and revenues just whenever you're starting to kind of build your business. And Conor, you will know this more than anybody as well, because you're a big kind of user of LinkedIn over the past while too. If you don't build your network, nobody knows you're there. If you're not connecting with the right people, you can't really build that momentum to kind of catapult your brand into the marketplace. So think about the people that you connect with, and I always think, is there an opportunity? Number one, do you have similar interests? Number two, is there an opportunity to do business? And if there's not, I wouldn't bother connecting with them. And I know that's a bit cutthroat, but it's true. So looking at your actual your brand itself, it's important to remember that LinkedIn is used as a search engine. So say somebody puts your name, if you Google your own name, I guarantee you that your LinkedIn profile will come on the first page of that result. So you imagine somebody's looking to do a bit of work with you and they're going to do a bit of research to see, well, is this person who they say they are? And they Google it. And your LinkedIn profile comes up and there's no picture, there's no description of what you do, you know, there's no kind of detail or narrative in and around it. It nearly kind of weakens your offering. And even though you could be the most amazing person at what you do, if you don't have a completed profile on there, you know, it ruins the facade of the potential relationship there. So I would really think about how you complete your brand. And here's the thing, Raj said earlier about, and I'll take you through it in a minute, about completing, you know, your headline and the about you and everything else. I actually got somebody else to write my profile because, you know, we're all good when we stand up and say we're brilliant and we're deadly at everything that we do, but it is very difficult sometimes to write about ourselves. You know, so I always either do it in third party, pretend it's somebody else, or get somebody else to write it for me. So you give them the key bullet points and then say, now, sell me. You know what I mean? Make me sound amazing. Because it is very difficult. Sometimes you're a wee bit embarrassed of your achievements, or you think, dick, saying things about yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you do feel awkward. And in Northern Ireland, we have this mentality where we're not allowed to be brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So we can't say anything positive about ourselves. So on LinkedIn, you're on a global platform now. So you have to have the courage to say how amazing you are at what you do. If I said to you, your video is good, you went, oh, alright, like, I'm not really going to be inspired to like rent you for, you know, to do my videos. So you have to get in that you are the best, you're amazing, using, you know, the most cutting edge technology, the most amazing editing resources, all of that. And you're standing up and you're like, wow, that's deadly. But if I said to you, are you good? Alright. Do you know what I mean? I'm not really going to buy your services. So if you can't go on LinkedIn and actually say, I'm brilliant, well, who's going to buy that from you, you know? So having a completed profile is really important. The other thing it does, gives you competitive edge. If you have a completed profile, and by the way, on your LinkedIn, you'll see where you're at. You'll see like, it gives you ratings as to how far your profile is completed. So you want to be an all-star, basically, and that's having completed all parts of the profile. And take an hour, 2 hours someday, and actually just sit with a cup of tea or coffee and go through it and make sure that you do fill in all the gaps that they ask you to, because it really does strengthen your proposition online. So add a good quality photo of yourself, and I'm kind of eating my words here at the minute because Brendan Gallagher took a really nice picture of me at the Tech Awards a couple of weeks ago, and I've used it as my new profile pic, because I don't actually look like the profile pic that I had before, because it's literally 5 years old. I wish I did, I don't. But don't do one with sunglasses on, or cocktails with your friends and stuff. This is about you. So you don't want to look at the picture and somebody say, there's Sharon. Well, which one is Sharon? Or a picture with your dog or your bikini might get the wrong attention, lads. So, think about the picture that you have of yourself, that it's presentable, it's professional, and that you look like you're someone that somebody could have a conversation with. It's very difficult when you see someone that's very, maybe clinical in their photos. God, I don't know if I could have a conversation with them. So have an approachable, happy, professional headshot. Think about, and this is something we probably don't use, there's a banner opportunity, but the way you have your profile pic and then there's the banner behind that. Make that relevant, make that your business card. Now don't be doing like a flyer, like a promotional flyer, because that just turns off, people. But if you think about what are the key messages, or what's the image that would portray you best in your business, or what's that added value. So think of the background image that you can use as well to really kind of reinforce what it is that you do. Other things to think of as well is your industry and location in your headline. There's nothing worse when somebody says, Naomh McElhatton, sales. And that's it. It's like, sales in what? Sales in pens, pop sockets, water bottles, notebooks, in marketing, in construction, in agri-food. What sector do you work in? Don't make people have to look for what it is that you do. Tell them, it's like when you go on a website and you can't find the phone number, and you're like, I just want the phone number to phone somebody, talk to them. Why are you making it so hard? It's the same thing on LinkedIn. Tell the person who you are. Tell them what you do, tell them what sector you're in, tell them what you're brilliant at. If you're in sales, selling what? Get into the nitty-gritty. What is it you're doing? What is the outcome, Helen? You're helping people, well-being, building resilience, all of that. Think of all those key words that you have that are attributed to the outcomes for your customers. What can you help me with today? And make it easy for me to understand what it is you do. It's so important, and something we probably don't we take for granted. We just assume on LinkedIn that they'll pick it up. They don't. So include a concise summary of who you are, what you do, and what you have to offer. Sell yourself. We have to take the American approach here to be really upbeat and talk about how amazing we are. Things to think about as well, and this is something that Niraj said earlier as well that absolutely annoys me. You see, I worked in recruitment for a while as well as a marketing director, and we would have taken CVs and stuff off the website. You see, if I see I'm a passionate individual on one more LinkedIn profile, on one more CV, you're passionate about what? Is that a really passionate individual? Are you? What about? In what sector? Doing what? How? Those words. I'm great communicator. Really? How? So it's not just using the word, it's actually giving the examples. So if you're in sales, you took the sales from, you grew sales by 25% in the first quarter or whatever. Put some key metrics to back up what it is you're actually saying that you do. So I know this all sounds a bit laborious, and I really don't have time for this, but I'm telling you here and now, I have got so much business off LinkedIn over the years, even probably today to come and speak here is through my profile on LinkedIn. There's all of these opportunities, and you never know who's in the room or who's looking at your profile or who's reading your profile. And it's mad. When I go into, I was in DCU on Tuesday, and I walked in, and one of the guys comes and says, "Oh, hi Naomh, how are you?" And I'm like, no idea who you are. "Hello, how are you doing?" He was like, I'll read off all the stimuli on LinkedIn. I was like, oh gee, great. I had no idea who this fella was. Turns out he worked in the Insight Lab. I had no idea who he was, but he's a relevant contact for me in what we're doing. And I didn't even know who this was, but because he follows our stuff, he knows who we are. It does make it worthwhile and it does create those opportunities. So I definitely would take a bit of time to make sure that you have your profile updated. Now, what I've done here in the work history piece, you can move it around. So you don't have to say that you worked in Intersport when you were 16 or you worked in Naomh lifting glasses when you were 13. You don't need to go into that level of detail. But I would go into the last 3 roles and give a bit of flavour and experience. The only thing I'd be very cautious of as well is if you are quite inclined to job hop regularly, don't put those on, because that actually weakens your proposition like you've no staying power. And unless you have a really good, valid explanation as to why you job hop, so like maybe you're made redundant, maybe the business closed or whatever it was, maybe you moved country, make sure you tell people that are looking at your profile that this is the reason why, you know, the job ended or it came to an end or whatever, because there's nothing that looks as weak as seeing somebody that's no staying power in the job. You're not going to hire them, right? So why would somebody hire you? Think about the sector that you're moving in. So who are your target customers? All business? Okay, all business, basically. Yeah, Helen, who are your ideal customers?
Ideal customers are anybody that wants to improve their own positive intelligence and have more positive outlook, and that improves all areas of their life, personally, professionally, and in all areas. Research by Stanford University is showing that on a quarter of a million people, improving positive intelligence improves your positivity, your productivity, and your relationships. So,
you know, I bought the book, Positive Intelligence, after you recommended it. Fantastic read. It talks about the self-saboteurs that we all do, but not get that's a different workshop for a different day. But highly recommended, Positive Intelligence. Connor, who are your customers? Who are your target customers? Okay.
Business planning, business, wealth management, inheritance tax planning, all of the above.
Yeah. And Sharon, what about you? Who would you be looking for contact?
Well, we just recently purchased the old health centre, so we're developing that into like small office space. So really it would be businesses who want to set up in a business community. So it's probably a lot of IT companies, engineering companies, people who maybe work from home but are based in another country who want to come to office.
Yeah.
So there's probably quite a lot of sectors, probably less traditional type businesses for the
Yeah, and that hybrid working model is something that's
Yes.
really important now. It's like with Hub Flow, you have Impact Hub, you have loads of those popping up all over the place now. I want you to just take 2 seconds, right, and think about the types of people you would like to connect. Do you all get a little notebook earlier? Just write down 5, just take the time to write 5 like-minded contacts, types of contacts that you would like to actually connect with. And the only reason I'm asking you to write this down is because you'll be overloaded with information. By the end of the day, you'll be going, who did she say we could contact? What do we have to do? So just think of the people that you want to connect with and the industries you want to connect with, and just jot them down as a little refresher for you later in the week, later today, or whenever you actually sit down and have a think about how you're going to drive your LinkedIn presence. Who are the people you actually want to contact and connect with? Make them strategic. Okay. So you know the way when we say social media, it is in fact about being social, right? So back in the good old days, we used to have traditional media. You used to stand in your soapbox and you used to broadcast out your message, and you used to say, this is what I do, okay? And you just read it and thought that's okay. With social media, we can now interact and challenge that. We can agree with it, or we can challenge it. But we start what's called a conversation, right? And funny enough, as humans, we love a good old conversation. And something that's really important is to actually start talking. So Niraj is right when he said, if you like a post, so what? Do you know, so what's that doing? Like. What does that mean? You know, is that person sending you an email saying, really like what you said, would love some more advice on that? Or really liked having that piece you did on positive intelligence, I would love you to come and work with our team. That's what you have to think about. What are you posting? What are you saying? How can you start the conversation with other people to give your opinion, to share your ideas, to share your congratulations, to share whatever it is that you're doing? Think about and be brave to have those conversations, because if you don't actually engage in them, you won't continue the conversation, you won't explore the opportunity. So if we don't actually start talking to each other on our social channels, don't bother wasting your time. Go and do something else, like hoover your floors or do some ironing. Because if you're not actually participating and engaging in conversations on the likes of LinkedIn in particular, there's no point. So start thinking of the conversations you want to have. Who, if you're driving business, who are the people you actually want to be talking to? I bet you have a hit list of clients that you would like to do. You do? You don't do? Yeah, of course you do. So it's like, how are you going to have a conversation with those? How are you going to build that relationship? Because it is all built on connectivity and human interaction, and people buy from people. Some people really like me, some people don't. I don't really care, right? Thanks, Connor, that I don't actually, but that's okay. I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable. But it's like, that's okay. But have those conversations, start talking, start actually engaging in what people have to say. Because I'm sure we all have an opinion on lots of different things, So be brave and actually start the conversation. If somebody posts something that resonates with you, say, God, that's really interesting, thanks for sharing. Did you know? Boom. And you can actually share your expertise. And then no doubt somebody else will have an opinion on what you have to say, and then that conversation starts to thread. And all of a sudden you've opened your entire network to something new that you haven't even done before. Things to think about as well are to give and receive recommendations and endorsements. And it's really funny that online advertising is probably my most successful endorsement, because I think back in 2010 I literally was the only person in Northern Ireland that did online advertising, and that's how I got so many recommendations. But being strategic in your thinking now moving forward, if somebody was to give you a recommendation, what do you want a recommendation for? It's really important to think about that. You don't want to get it for, being deadly at swimming. You want to get it for your line of business. So think about, what do you want to be endorsed for? What's the skill set? What is the, you know what I mean? So you need to get those recommendations for your work. So be bold and go to customers that you already have a working relationship with and say, hi there, could you just give me a wee recommendation there? You can actually spoon feed them and say, this is what I would like you to say, if you don't mind. Because at the end of the day, who really has time, unless, to really think of something endearing to say. But if you go to them and say, listen, I'm trying to build a bit of authority and reputation on my LinkedIn profile, I'm building my endorsements and recommendations. At the time when I did the project, you said that you really enjoyed working with me, and quote the line or quote whatever it was they said. Are you happy for me? Could you share this for me? So do the hard work for them, but absolutely go and ask for those recommendations and endorsements. Because here's the thing, they'll say, sure, actually, could you do one for me too? Absolutely love to. So you're sharing the love and helping get it out. LinkedIn groups are probably the most underutilized piece of LinkedIn. Rather than just coming up in your newsfeed or a post or whatever it is, there is a LinkedIn group for everything. And that's what I meant earlier when I said about the Hep C for doctors. There is a LinkedIn group for everything. I guarantee you, if you took your industry sector now and you Googled or searched for it in LinkedIn, you'll find a group for it. So I challenge you to do that. Think of a random thing, go on your phone, go into LinkedIn and Google something bizarre or your industry sector, and you see the number of LinkedIn groups that will come up for that. And you think there won't be a group, there will. There's over 1 million active groups on LinkedIn alone. So it's crazy to think just how vast the content goes across this platform. So use those groups to build connections, to build similar interests, to build similar likes. Maybe people are doing business in Scotland, maybe that's a new geographical business opportunity for you, into Wales, into America, into wherever. Think about where you're going to do business and actually go and target those groups in those geographical locations and start the conversations there. Like as we start to grow the business, our next market is into the APAC region, into Australia and New Zealand. We're already starting to have conversations with Enterprise Ireland and groups and health committees down in New Zealand and in Australia. So that's where we're going. So it's like, there's no point in me waiting. Right, we're ready to go now, let's start building some relationships. You have to build a relationship before you try to do the business. So it's really important that you use the LinkedIn groups. And genuinely, I think it'd be mind-blowing if you did, like, when was the last time you took an hour just to have a wee mooch around LinkedIn? Have you ever? Hands up here who actively sits in LinkedIn and has a good snoop around groups and all the things that it has to offer. Everybody put your hand up. Come on! Oh, well, I know you do, you stalker. You have people tortured. Only joking, Connor. I know Connor a long time. He's just an easy target for today. But that's what I mean. So you're all sitting on untapped opportunity. And this is the opportunity for you to really grow your business. Or any of you in engineering, or even what you're doing. Like in America, there might be some cutting edge product that you could import or you could export. You know, there's just so, the wealth of opportunity is incredible. And it's totally underused. And I think if you're very, very clever about moving your business forward, LinkedIn is a fantastic way to support you do that. So create engaging content. Do you ever look at some post and you think, oh Jesus Christ, why did you post that? Like, honest to God, like there's no need for that. Like there's a couple of people now that I've had to silence because it's just a ramble. You know, I like to think everything I post, you know, links to the website, links to a news article, links to something. You know, there is a call to action. Then there's people that just go on a rant, and you're just thinking, oh God, this is cringe. And we all know somebody in the audience that does that, don't we? We do. Probably. So what I would do is be very strategic in your content and think about 4 or 5, and I call them content pillars. So things within your industry sector that you can talk about specifically. So is it your product? Is it your team? Is it the industry sector itself? Is it, I don't know, maybe you've won an award, or maybe you've written a specific industry news article that got published in a paper. Think about things that are relevant to your business and have those 4 or 5 content pillars. And there's 3 things it needs to do. It needs to either inform, inspire, or educate. And if it doesn't do any of those things, don't post it. And that's a rule of thumb to live by. If it doesn't inform, inspire, or educate, don't post it. But think of the 3 or 4 different content pillars that you're going to have associated either to you, if you are a sole trader and an individual. So what are your content pillars? What do you talk about? What's your area of expertise? Or if it's a business itself, what does the business do? And what are the content pillars associated with the business? And the 3 things to live by are to inform, inspire, educate. And if it doesn't do any of those, don't post it. And that's a rule of thumb to live by, because then your content will always align to the business opportunity that you're offering to your customers, potential customers on LinkedIn. The other thing that LinkedIn does massively is identifies opportunities to find new people that you can work with or that can work for you. So new hires. Like I will always, we're recruiting for a CTO at the minute, and it's like trying to find hen's teeth. Like they're so competitive, It's big salaries, it's all of those things, and it's just like, how do we stand out from the crowd, or how do we know that these people are legit or whatever? LinkedIn will allow you to do that, and especially for those people who are actively looking for new roles as well, they'll make sure that their profiles are polished. So I would recommend the same for you guys as well, is if you're looking for new opportunities, why not actually say you're looking for new opportunities? Because that's something that I actually say, oh God, they've left such and such, and they say, currently seeking new opportunities. And all of a sudden, well, that's good to know. So if you're in the market for a new job, if you're looking for a new role, put that in your profile, let people know that you're available for work. Because again, if we don't tell people these things, they don't know. So make it easy for people to find out. So a couple of things that I want you to do now is to look at your own profile, look at the picture that's currently on your LinkedIn. Is it acceptable? And you're laughing now, yours isn't acceptable, is it?
Me?
Yeah. Oh, you're just a picture of a camera, not you. So, but genuinely, right? Think about, I just want to take, just to recap all of this, right? Think about your profile now. Go and have a look and see on your phone. Do you all have LinkedIn on your phone? Hands up who doesn't. Okay. Okay, right, well there's an opportunity here. So for those of you who do have LinkedIn, I just want to take the next 5 minutes and have a look at your profile. It'll actually tell you where you are in the completion of your profile as well. So if you're kind of good, all-star, and at what level you're at. So go and have a look and see. Have a look and see, are there keywords? What's your headline? Does it actually say what you do in the industry sector that you work in? Have a wee look to see now.
So where does it say?
Okay. So has everybody had a chance just to kind of recap where they're at on their LinkedIn profile? So what I would recommend in the networking today, you see everybody that's in the room, you actually get to know what you all do. So we have a photographer, we have a videographer, we have ladies clothing, we have financial advice, we have mental well-being, we have electrical goods. Do you sell to the public or just everybody? So if you need some new bulbs and switches and stuff down the back, if you need a wee night away in the Balmore Court Hotel in the Skill, Lewis is there to take some bookings. If you need some Irish translated gals there. So there's a room of potential business here right now. So today I would take the opportunity to mingle with each other and actually share what it is that you do. How much time have we left?
No.
5 minutes. So does anybody kind of want to have the courage to stand up and say what they do? Good lad, thank you.
Morning everyone. My name is Nigel Irvine. I live in Skilling just down the road. I have just recently set up my own business. I help SMEs, Northern and Southern Irish SMEs plan for their export business and help them work out their strategy and action plans to get into export. So my previous experience, I was 14 years International Sales and Marketing Director with Terrace Finlay, about 2 miles away from here. I grew my part of the business from 30 million to 90 million over those 14 years. I worked with other global companies, Massey Ferguson, Shell and so on. About 18 months ago, I took quite a significant thing happened. We'll talk for this morning, but a significant thing happened. When I was diagnosed with cancer, we reevaluated our lives. She went and set up our cancer charity. I went out and started my own business. So if you need any help and assistance getting your products exported, please come talk to me.
So this lady, what's your first name, sorry? Yeah, what's your first name?
Oh no, I don't want to hide you.
And actually, I'm singing a song as well. Yeah.
Well, I'm here. I'm just about to have a new launch of a business. It's called the Green Hair Candle Box, and it's really what this would be if you were a subscriber to this business. That each on the same day, theoretically, one shipping day, the subscribers all receive an artisan candle from a nominated candle maker who's going to be Irish. So from my own love of candles and through lockdown and being aware of my own environment, was a real awareness that people are burning incorrect substances in their house, and also people don't know of local craftspeople, artisan candle makers. So say you were in Cork, I could, if there was a nominated candle maker from Tyrone, that you would receive their candle, and you would also, I would be writing up about their journey of candle making. So it's promoting the local craftspeople, and that's it. But I'm down for it. I don't use use LinkedIn or
Instagram.
anything.
So there's definitely synergy there because it's an export market written all over that. So you have to think about where the disposable income is, where customers will pay.
Yeah.
And no Americans in the room, no? Love Irish produce.
Yeah, well, I know,
You know.
I mean, I have all these kind of like bulbs going off that, yes, I could go that direction and this direction, but,
And I think having that conversation, and that's what today is about. It's about networking, it's about collaborating, and it's about identifying sales opportunities.
and
So,
I'm from Anna as well, so,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Nigel, for having the courage. Is there anybody else in the room just want to take the opportunity to stand up and say what they do? It's an opportunity to sell. We're the sales conference. Connor, you knew I was going to do it. This man's a legend, by the way.
No, I'm not actually.
He is. Come on. Tell who you are.
I'm actually too loud for him. I'm not actually going to talk about the business when I'm paid forward because it's something that Naomh generally does. I'm going to do two quick things and I'm sure very sorry I didn't know your name. Photographer.
Katrina.
Katrina. If anyone needs a headshot for LinkedIn, Katrina's available. And
Perfect.
if anyone wants their full makeup done and prep done by Sarah Conway here, just set up her own business, get that done first and then go and get your photograph done for LinkedIn because that's the first thing.
And then go to House Fiction for those.
Absolutely, sorry. And no, I'm here and Naomh's always very kind and paying forward and so on. And it's very easy to come to an event like this and go, oh, God, I know that. It's such a refresher to read some of this, and I'm recapping mine now and just sent Nigel an invite because that was a brilliant intro there that he just gave for his business. And it's all about connecting, and I use the term and I always personalise your invite. If you're sending an invite to anyone, the only tip I would give you is to personalise your invite and ask them to connect, and then tell them why you want to connect, whether it's through mutual opportunities or whatever. But that's my tip for the day. This is brilliant.
That's how we connected.
It is,
Years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're so shy.
I know, Wolfar,
Yeah.
retiring Wolfar. Does anybody else want to have the floor? Might as well take the opportunity, lads, if you're all here for a sales conference. Good lads.
Ben and we're based, my company is called Clean Tech, and we're based here in Naomh, and we sell industrial cleaning equipment. And LinkedIn is something that I just haven't a clue. I just haven't noticed about it. We're all told in our game, or my family tell me, my daughters and my son tells me, that TikTok's great for our game because pressure washers are the big thing in our game. Karcher is the big name that everybody knows. We sell loads of different makes as well, and we sell a lot of parts online. We started off eBay in 2011 and then Amazon, and we have our own web shop. And now 57% of the business is online. So, I mean, I have an interest in the whole online thing and how to improve that. TikTok apparently is the way we should be going, doing loads of before and after videos where you have a wee space and it's all black, and then the next thing you go with your power washer and the next thing it's all clean again. So, but I'm very interested in seeing how LinkedIn can work for us as well.
I would look at the demography of TikTok. So if you were looking at your paying customer, who is the typical profile of your paying customer? Male, 40 plus, 35 plus?
Well, you know, online there's a fair spread right across from, you know, probably 30 somethings onwards mainly, but right up then to retired people.
Predominantly male?
Predominantly male.
Yeah. So what I would look at, because TikTok is absolutely before and after, and that's where everybody flicks and wastes a lot of their life, you know, going through it. So you'd have to think about how compelling the video was to make somebody actually, so you're going to power wash somebody to give people a laugh, or what's the humour, or what's the content behind the TikTok to make somebody watch it. You can do the just satisfying, we can see the dirt, because I love all that kind of stuff, but it's like, am I going to buy a power wash off you? You know, no, I would pay somebody to come and do it. So you need to think about how you position it. And so if that video says, what do you want me to do when I see that? I say, God, that's great there, Naomh. Next. You need to think about the conversion. So I go into your analytics off your website and actually go through your analytics and say, okay, well, where are they from, what's the price point, who are they, how are they engaging, what channel have they come through, and your Google Analytics will tell you all of that. So if you are on TikTok, it'll tell you they came from TikTok, it'll tell you they came from LinkedIn, it'll tell you the social channel, it'll tell you whether on desktop or on their mobile phone or on their iPad. It gives you such an insight. And whilst your kids are spot on the money that TikTok is the most active channel at the moment, you need to think about who's going to buy the product. So if you're on offering professional corporate services to businesses, you have a CEO or an FD that comes in and sees that the red brick, or what you can't really harvest red brick because it ruins it, but the concrete needs cleaned, they'll actually go and look for somebody that does it, so you have more chance of getting a better paid job from a company that's come to actually get the job done than somebody just consuming video content for 5 seconds. So you need to get the balance, and that's the thing. Yes, it looks great and all, it's great to be on there and all the rest, but if you're not going to do any business from it, why would you waste your time?
Well, there are accessories, and that's where they come in. There's surface cleaners, and they work very well. So you might have a little power washer at home. You can buy a surface cleaner which speeds up the job and is more effective. So yeah, you can
do all of that.
Sell accessories through it.
Do you remember when I was saying about your content pillars and creating it, and it informs, inspires, and educates? That's exactly what I do. Map out what kind of content is going to work on TikTok and what kind of content is going to LinkedIn. Because remember, you repurpose your content. Not all the content is the same. Like what I post on Instagram wouldn't even sniff LinkedIn. Completely different tone of voice, completely different platform. So you need to think about, we're going to use TikTok, how are we going to use it? We're going to use LinkedIn, how are we going to use it? And then you repurpose your content for both channels. But I think it's a no-brainer for LinkedIn, for you, even for you as an industry expert. It'll be very easy to build your profile there too.
Thank you.
Good lad, thanks.
Anyone else?
Anybody need any cleaning products today? Anybody need a fire hose? So give it 20% off today on all products. It is, isn't it? 20%?
50.
There you go. Not joking either. Lunchtime, go and get Ben. Is that us? Perfect, guys. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed working with you this morning. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn over the coming weeks, months, years, whatever it is. I always say, if you need some advice, always reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'll always come back to you. If I can't help you, I'll connect you with somebody who can. Enjoy the rest of your day.